Okay, today's lesson is about the Declaration of Independence. American colonies have been ruled by England for 150 years, and we felt like it's time for a change. We've talked about earlier what declaration means. It means to make a statement. Independence means you want to be your own person. So, as a country, we were saying we want to declare that we are free from England. Now, that's going to take a lot of hard work and a big war to do that, the Revolutionary War. The colonists selected Thomas Jefferson, and 4 other men were asked to write the Declaration. Now, in the Declaration, they said that we have rights, which are freedoms that are protected by a government's law. Now, the colonists felt like England had not been doing this. They had not been protecting us very well, and so we wanted a chance to be free and to make our own laws, or we wanted England to treat us better. Well, England decided, you know, you belong to us, you will do as we tell you to do. You don't tell us what to do. And so here's what happens. The colonies decide, all right, we want to be free. And so they wrote the Declaration of Independence. Now, the importance of the Declaration. Thomas Jefferson argued that a government should do the following things. Number 1, protect the rights of the citizens. As I said, England had not been doing this. The citizens weren't allowed to criticize or speak out against the king. And so Jefferson said, this is what the government should do. He got his ideas from John Locke, a philosopher that had written about these things. Jefferson also said in the Declaration of Independence that government should serve the people. Now, things were different. As I keep saying, England said that the people serve the government or serve the king. Well, Jefferson said, no, we're going to do it differently. The government should serve the people. Okay? The Declaration of Independence was approved on July the 4th, 1776. This is why we celebrate July the 4th. This is such an important date. So next time you go to enjoy fireworks, you'll know, oh, we're celebrating the Declaration of Independence. Now, the Constitution is another important document in our government. The Constitution is a written plan of government, and it explains how our government works. Okay? The first part of the Constitution is the first paragraph. It's the preamble. Preamble means the beginning of the Constitution, and it lists the goal of our government. And if you look in your textbook, you'll see an example of the preamble, or you can search this on the internet and type in preamble to the Constitution, U.S. Constitution, and you can read. It starts out, we the people, and we'll talk about that in class. Now, in the Constitution, it divides our government into 3 branches. First of all, the first branch is the legislative branch. Some say this is the most important branch. The legislative branch makes the laws for the country. Now, the legislative branch has 2 parts to it. First of all, it's Congress, okay, or it's often called the Congress. Congress is made up of 2 parts. We have the Senate. Each state gets to elect 2 senators that serves 6 years. Okay, again, this is important. The legislative branch, often called the Congress, has 2 parts, the Senate and House of Representatives. The Senate has, or each state gets to elect 2 senators that get to serve for 6 years. The House of Representatives, each state gets to elect a certain number of representatives based on the population. That means, let's take, for example, California. California is a huge state, not only in size, but also the number of people that are there. And because they have a larger population, they get more representatives. Now, let's take, for example, a small state like Rhode Island. Now, I'm not exactly sure of the population of Rhode Island. I know it's the smallest state in the United States. So there's not that many, or there's not as many people as California, so they're going to have fewer representatives. Okay? Now, Congress has the power to raise money through taxes. Congress funds the military, takes care of our roads, and national parks, and they have several other jobs too. Okay? Our next branch of government is the executive branch. It is the person in charge of the executive branch is the president. The president serves for 4 years. Now, after 4 years, he or she has to campaign again, and if they get enough votes, and we can go into the voting later, if they get enough votes, they get to serve 4 more years. So you get to serve a total of 8 years possibly. Now the president, some people get confused with this. They think that the president is the one that makes up the laws. That's not necessarily true. The president, the head of the executive branch, can suggest laws. That means they could say, I believe there should be a law against, or a law stating such. And the president will suggest this to Congress. The president's responsibility is to carry out the laws made by Congress. Okay, and also the president is the commander of the U.S. military. So if the president feels like we need to go to war, the president can go to Congress. They have to get permission from Congress first. The president does not declare war, Congress does. But the president can go to Congress and suggest that we need to go to war. And once we do go to war, the president is the one that gives the orders to the military as to what needs to be done. The last branch of the 3 branches of government is the judicial branch. The judicial branch, they decide the meaning of laws and whether the laws have been followed. Okay, so if we have a question about a law, we're not sure if it's legal or not, we can go to the courts, the judicial branch. They will look at it and compare it to the Constitution to let us know if it's legal or not. Now, the head of the judicial branch is the Supreme Court. That's the highest court in our land. And the judges, all judges in the judicial branch are chosen by the president. The president can pick someone to be a judge, but the Senate has to approve that person. Okay, so the president can't just say, well, I want so-and-so to be on the Supreme Court. They can say that, but the Senate has to interview that person to see would they make a good judge. Right. Lastly, we have a system of checks and balances. Okay, checks and balances is a system that lets each branch limit the power of the other 2. So, for example, the president is not the most powerful. The executive branch is not the most powerful branch. Judicial is not the most powerful, and legislative is not the most powerful. They each get to check each other. Before a law is made by Congress, they have to have the president sign it. And if the president says no or vetoes it, he sends it back to Congress. Congress votes again, and then they try to pass the law. If the law is unconstitutional, the judicial branch will look at it and say, compared to the Constitution, this law doesn't work. So they throw it out. And it's a good system there. The federal system is the type of government we have. We have a national government. The federal government has the power over issues that affect the nation. So, for example, with printing money, post office and trade with the states, in the states or with other countries, that's a national issue. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next lesson. States has the power over local issues. All right, so if something is happening here in Tennessee, it's not necessarily a national issue. The states will deal with it. For example, schools, local government, and the state is also in charge of running elections, and they also get to raise taxes too. So if we ask the question, well, who runs the schools or who's in charge of schools, that's the state. Okay. It's not the national issue. Okay, if you want your local road paved or you have a problem with certain things in your local area, that would be a state issue. Okay, now if it's something like I don't know, like for example 9/11 many years ago, that affected the whole entire country, and so that's a national issue. So we'll talk a little bit more in the next lesson about the difference between national and state level. thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, if you forgot something or didn't hear something that I said, you can always run this video back and watch it again. Thank you. Have a great day.